How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your weekly forecast of what the heck is going on in the universe. If you're watching this on YouTube, I appreciate you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, whatever it is that you do with my videos. I absolutely appreciate it. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at White Light Cam and like my Facebook page at White Light Astrology. Also, as well, if you're watching this on Patreon, thank you even more for being a patron and donating to my videos. I absolutely love and appreciate you guys so much. So, let's get started with this week. There is not like the most crazy energy happening, but there's a lot of subtle changes that are going on. Starting off on Monday, Pluto's like retrograde. I think that actually happened today on Sunday. However, with Pluto retrograde now, with this sense of, I don't want to say like destruction, but imminent change is now coming within. Like Pluto retrograde, you can't hide from. It's like Saturn retrograde, because now that Saturn and Pluto are both retrograde, all of this, Capricorn stuff of what are we structuring, what are we trying to accomplish, what are we trying to build, what are we trying to, get together in a sense, now becomes an internal process. Just like with Jupiter, Jupiter as it's, direct is all about, like where can we find the abundance and all that kind of stuff outside. But when Jupiter goes retrograde, it's about internalizing all of this. So now that we have Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto retrograde, this is a pretty big time. This isn't, the outside circumstances of what's kind of going on isn't really going to be the biggest influence, but it's about what you do with it, and it's about how you deal with it and how you react or respond to it. And as Jupiter's retrograde now, we're dealing with a lot more of our truth becoming a lot more revealed, especially as Venus did its opposition to Jupiter, and now it's actually going to be ending its opposition, which I'll be talking about. However, with Pluto now retrograde, the sense of internalizing or I shouldn't say internalizing, but all these dramatic changes within what we give, like how we give ourselves stability, how we, view ourselves, what we really pride ourselves in creating and establishing, all those Capricorn type stuff. A lot of that's starting to change within, and that's with Saturn here and with Mars here, and Mars going to conjunct Pluto. Be prepared for a lot of internal changes this week. Really, really big stuff. So anyway, with Monday being said, we have the Moon in Leo conjuncting the North Node, and it's squaring Jupiter. And now that we're in Taurus season, as the Moon, starting on Sunday, we had the Moon square the Sun, conjuncts the North Node, squares Jupiter, and all that stuff. What do you value about yourself, and where is your heart taking you? Because with the Sun in Taurus, where we're emanating this energy of our own sense of security, our own sense of establishment, our own sense of tradition, or anything regarding that Taurus energy, that's what we're really expressing in a certain way. And with the Moon being in Leo squaring Jupiter, it's kind of like, well, is this my truth, or is this where my heart is? With Jupiter in Scorpio, it could be like, now that it's in retrograde, it's really starting to get to us on an emotional level of like, okay, what do I believe? What is my truth? Where am I really going? What is my desires? What is my passion? Where am I really trying to lead myself into? And now, as the Moon conjuncts the North Node, go with what your heart feels. Go with what's going to make you happy. The North Node's in Leo, guys. Like, the direction that we need to be going in is in that area of how can we feel more confident? How can we start actually putting not only our value, but our passion and our worth out there? How can we express our most inner light and be our most true, authentic selves? And as it squares Jupiter, this could be a little bit, I guess you could say awkward, because Jupiter in Scorpio is kind of like making you look at where your heart's desires are, and if that's in alignment with what your truth is at this time. So keep that in mind as we go into Monday. So Tuesday then, oh, and by the way, Monday Sun is trining Saturn, which we're going to be having exact here this week. But anyway, on Tuesday, Venus goes into Gemini. And it will be, when does it stop its opposition? Yeah, Venus stops its opposition on Wednesday to Jupiter. So when Venus goes into Gemini, this is us really putting in that sense of value and that sense of pleasure, that sense of romance, relationships, all that Venus stuff. It's in Gemini now. Look at your environment. Look who's around you. Learn something new. Communicate what exactly it is that you do want. Communicate what exactly it is that you do feel. What do you really value at this time? And when Venus was in Taurus, it was like our possessions, what we have, where are we really stable, where are we really grounded? And as Venus goes into Gemini, it's all really about valuing not necessarily other people, but the people that are around us. It's about taking what we have and using it for something. So when Venus goes into Gemini, really use your sense of communication. Speak. Mercury is now, direct. We don't have any problems with communication or anything like that. But Mercury is going to be squaring Saturn on Wednesday as well. at 9 degrees. So this is that last Mercury square Saturn energy that we have. You know, while Mercury's in Aries, we're really learning how to view ourselves in a different way, something more productive, something more, you know, stable, something more in alignment with who we kind of are. I shouldn't say who we kind of are, who we really are. But as it squares Saturn, now that Saturn's retrograde, look at that internal self-dialogue. What are you telling yourself all the time? Why are you beating yourself up? And is that working anymore? Is it worth keeping that, you know, structure and that, you know, holding on to all of that energy about yourself? Is it worth holding on to all that stuff? Or are you willing to kind of take a new perspective onto things and look how you can restructure your own inner, you know, karma? Now that Saturn's retrograde, everyone talks about, you know, this is time where karma's serving. Give yourself some credit. Mercury scoring Saturn is going to be a little bit frustrating. It is going to be a lot, especially now that Pluto and Saturn are retrograde. It is going to be a little bit, you know, not necessarily emotional, but very energized, very passionate, very weird in a sense. So don't beat yourself up this week. I mean, I say that almost all the time, but as Mercury squares Saturn, really look at what your perspective and view is about yourself and what you think you deserve or what you think you're worth or what you think you're capable of creating. It's a really big deal. So then on Wednesday, we also have the moon going into Virgo and Venus stops its opposition to Jupiter. So we're not really focused on, you know, what do we really value and what is our real truth is. Now that Venus is in Gemini, stops its opposition to Jupiter, we really get to express our passion. We really get to express our value. We really get to utilize what we have within ourselves and give it to other people, share with it, communicate it, express it, all that kind of good stuff. However, once the moon goes into Virgo, this is when things are going to get a little bit more analytical. This is when things are going to be, you know, what's the moon going into? Oh yeah, it's opposing Neptune, it's trining the Sun, Saturn, Mars, and Pluto. So on an emotional scale, what are we trying to fix? What are we trying to heal? Don't get too overwhelmed with all the little nitty-gritty details. I think I said that wrong, but don't get so focused on the details and don't create analysis paralysis for yourself. Really, though, get down to what needs to be done and what action steps can you really take right now. And as it opposes Neptune, you may have to take the facade off of what, you know, kind of dreams or, you know, illusion that you've created over your situation, because with Neptune and Pisces, our whole environment is just confusing as hell right now. But as the moon goes into Virgo this week, that's going to be on Wednesday, really tidy yourself up. Give yourself some credit. What can you do that's going to feel better for you? As the moon's in Virgo and it's trining Saturn, Mars, Pluto, all of that kind of good stuff, like, this is a really good time. If you've been watching my videos for the past couple weeks, I've been talking about, it's kind of like code enforcement came in. We got to change the building. We got to, you know, redo the infrastructure. With the moon in Virgo, this is about getting all those tiny details in alignment and basically getting done what you need to get done. So with that being said, we go into Thursday, where Mars conjuncts Pluto at 21 degrees, while Pluto's retrograde. This is going to be taking massive action steps towards that, you know, redoing our infrastructure. How do we really take action on the things that we want to acquire? With Mars in Capricorn, you know, like, we're wanting to work, we're wanting to get a lot done, we're wanting to accomplish a lot. And as Pluto conjuncts it, or I should say as Mars conjuncts Pluto while Pluto's retrograde, this is going to require a lot more change on an internal level that may be dramatic. It may bring a lot of, I don't want to say pain or suffering, but it's Pluto here. We're talking about Hades. We're talking about the rule of the underworld. We're talking about really dark stuff. So face your fears this week, but this is Capricorn. Capricorn doesn't care about, you know, what's scary or not. They're just like, I'm here, I got to do this, and that's it. So show up, do business, do the work on yourself. Don't be afraid this week. This isn't about, you know, getting lost in the emotional sense, which we will talk about once the full moon hits in Scorpio. However, with that being said, as Mars conjuncts Pluto, take the change. Start doing something different inside yourself. And regardless of whether you want to or not, Pluto retrograde is going to show you what needs to be changed and what is really not working on a very serious level this week. Anyway, Mars conjuncts Pluto, moon will trine Venus as it goes into Libra. So as the moon goes into Libra, where we're really looking at, you know, our relationship not only with ourselves, with other people, what are we really investing in? Because Libra, you know, ruler of the 7th house, it's really specific about relationships because it rules marriage. You know, same thing with Libra, it rules law. It's all about that binding contract. It's about investing into an idea. And it may not be a relationship with someone else, but it's a relationship to an entity or to a thing. And as the moon goes into Libra, what is your relationship with what you're doing, with, you know, the business that you have or the job that you have, with the people that you have around you? What is the relationship that you have with yourself? And this is a good time to really balance out what exactly needs to be done. Now, Venus, now that the moon will go into Libra, trine Venus, and it will be trining Mars, and Pluto. So it's a really good time, especially when you have, Capricorn and Libra, even though zodiacally speaking, they do square. Now that we're going to be having them at a nice little trine, really do your best to really weigh out your odds. Is this going to work better for you, or is this going to work better for you? Don't get too lost in confusion, but really sit there and ask yourself these questions, because once we get to the full moon in Scorpio on Sunday, this is when it's all going to be revealed. This is when all this stuff's going to be coming out. Anyway, Moon goes into Libra. It's going to start opposing Mercury as Mercury ends its square. It doesn't really end its square with Saturn. We've still got a couple more days for that. But as the Moon goes into Libra and opposes Mercury, you got to look at that relationship that you have with yourself. What are you telling yourself all day long? What are you really thinking? Is being hard on yourself worth it? And with the Moon in Libra, we're looking at Venus here. Venus is in Gemini. Look at your options. Look at what you have. Look at what you've learned. Have a different mindset. Communicate something different. Gemini is just about chatting. It's just about communicating. And through communication, you can learn. Through understand, you can create change. I should say through understanding, you can create change. To understand is to transform what is. So really understand what you're telling yourself and your relationship that you have with yourself regarding this Pluto, retrograde, Saturn retrograde. We're doing all this internal work stuff. Really look at how do you understand yourself and the relationship that you have with yourself. That's going to be this Moon in Libra opposing Mercury type deal. And it is going to be squaring Saturn. And it is going to be within a T-square to Saturn. So Saturn's at the top of this trying to, figure out what Mercury's doing, trying to figure out what the Moon's doing. And as Saturn's retrograde in the middle of all this, it comes back down to, man, what is going to work? You got to rebuild. You've got to do something different on the inside. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again because it worked at one point. Even though it did work at one point, that's fine. But maybe right now that's not working anymore. And you can't have that closed-mindedness about who you really are and what it is that you're trying to accomplish and the structure that you have. Change is inevitable. It's the only constant here in the universe. So as Saturn is in retrograde in Capricorn with this T-squared to the Moon and Mercury, it is going to be a little bit emotional, but it is going to be revealing. It's going to be very, not like, breakthrough opportunity, but this is a great time to go, I have to say to yourself, I have some serious stuff that I need to change. I have to restructure. I have to come up with a new business plan. I have to do something on the inside. I actually create something on the inside to create change. So that's what that's really looking like. And that's going to be happening on Friday. And it's still going to be trining Venus. Don't forget, put your passion out there, communicate it, express this stuff, how you really feel. And then on Saturday, Moon will oppose Uranus. It will be in a T-square with Mars and Pluto, and Mercury will square Pluto. That's when Mercury's square to Pluto will start. So with Mercury starting to square Pluto, this is still going to be building up, but a lot of mindset changes. With that Pluto retrograde on the inside, I don't want to say dark things are happening, but massive, huge change is happening on the inside for all of us. And as Mercury squares that, and it's also while the Moon is opposed Uranus, this is more of okay, what do I really have to do? What do I really have to feel? What do I have to really understand about the relationship that you have with yourself in order to make these huge changes that you're going through? So then on Sunday, Moon goes into Scorpio. It will conjunct Jupiter. It will trine Neptune, and then Venus will be squaring Neptune, and Saturn and Moon will quincunx Venus as well. This Sunday with the full moon in Scorpio, all is going to be revealed. And when I say that, we're talking about our deep, darker truths, our emotions, what we can repress, what we are emotionally invested to, what we can hold on to. And as the full moon comes into Scorpio, this is about letting go of all that. Jupiter is here, and it's going to be conjuncting, and it's trining Neptune. Is it worth holding on to all of these dark emotions? With the sun in Taurus now, it's really easy to be stubborn for us, because we want to emanate and we want to radiate a certain way and be grounded and stuff like that. But this moon in Scorpio is really not going to have too much comfort zone around that. It's not going to allow us to really sit there and be comfortable in our environment. It's really asking us to expose our truth, expose our emotions about this, feel it. This is Scorpio. Don't repress it. If you're mad, get mad. If you're sad, get sad. Don't repress this stuff. Feel this. And as it conjuncts Jupiter, what is your truth? And forgive yourself. Jupiter's here. We're talking about faith. We're talking about optimism. We're talking about hope. And as the moon conjuncts it, bring that emotional sense to yourself. How does that really make you feel? I hate to be the typical therapist type guy, but ask yourself, how does that really make you feel? What are you expressing? What needs to change? What are your desires? What is your truth? And how do you need to feel about that? I shouldn't say how you need to feel about that. How are you feeling about that? And don't be afraid to express it this week. And that's what I got for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching all my videos. I'm coming out with my Uranus and Taurus video this week, as well as some new stuff for my Patreon. If you guys don't know what Patreon is, check out the link below. I'm doing a whole new type of deal where it's like, you know, people can actually support me in what I do through, you know, a financial way of donating, you know, $1, $2, $3 to my videos. And in return, I'm going to be giving you guys more exclusive content for that. So if you haven't heard about it, check it out down below. And thank you guys so much for watching all my videos again, and I'll be seeing you next week.